Hi everyone, I'm going to be going over question number 38 from the Chapter 7 Bingo Problems. This problem deals with two blocks that are connected by a string that goes through a pulley that's hanging up on a ceiling. And some of the info that we're given is that the combined mass of the two blocks is 22 kilograms. Both blocks start at rest, and when they're let go, one of them starts moving downwards, and it goes 1.2 meters down at a velocity of 3 meters per second. And the question that it's asking wants to know the mass of each of these blocks. And so we know the combined mass, but we need to figure out the individual mass. So we can use this equation here. It's one of our energy equations. So the final kinetic energy and the potential energy equals 0. And they equal 0 because since these are connected, they're always canceling each other out. And so that's always going to equal 0 for the energy. Now, to start out, we need to break up the kinetic energy and the potential energy into their components. And since we're dealing with two different items, we'll need to factor that in as well. So we'll start with K2. We know that kinetic energy equals 1/2 mv squared, but since we have two things, we'll need to break that up. So it'll be m, we'll say block A, VA, plus mv v squared. So now what we can do is plug in the values that we have, because we know that the movement is 3 meters per second. So when we plug that in for the velocity, we get Alright, so since the velocity is the same for A and B, we can pull the velocity squared out of the equation, and then so once that's factored out, then we have 1/2 times 3 squared times ma plus mb. So we've got that. Now what we'll do is we'll move on to the potential energy. So U2 equals, we know that potential energy when it deals with gravity is mgh, or y. In this case I'll be using y. We'll say U2 equals 1/2, and then mb gyb minus Alright, so here's our potential energy. And now what we need to do is plug in the things that we know. So we know gravity, and we know that it's moving 1.2 meters. So why this is a negative instead of a plus is because when the potential energy of one increases, the other one is decreasing, so we need to subtract it. Now we can further move this along, and when we plug in stuff, we'll end up with u squared equals 1.2 times g times ma. So what I'm doing is basically just factoring everything out, like we did in the kinetic energy. Gravity we also know, so we can put that in. Alright, so we've got this now. And since we know that both of these equal 0, we can use that to our advantage. So let's plug our U2 and our K2 into this equation. I'm going to erase what I've done so far just to give more room. So we get K2, which was 4.5. Oops. And then plus the potential energy, which we ended up with. Now, these are a little different. This is just when you crunch all the numbers in the calculator, you end up with this. So that, and all of this equals 0. So now what we do is we know that MA plus MB equals 22 kilograms. So let's plug that in. And then I like to multiply it out, just have less things to keep writing down. So we'll end up with 99 plus 11. Okay, so we're getting pretty close. And now what we need to do is just solve for one of our variables. Because since we have two unknowns and two equations, we can figure it out. So let's solve for, which one did I solve for here? Let's solve for MA. So when we do that, we'll get, so negative 99. Well, you don't know how to do algebra, so we'll just say it's MA minus MB equals 8.41. So to solve for MA, move it MB over, so MA equals 8.41 plus MB. So now we know MA. We can plug this in to this, and then we'll know what MA is. Or actually, sorry, mixed it up. So we have this, but we know that MB, or no, it's the same thing, I just got confused for a second. So MB equals 22 minus MA, right? Because we know the total is 22 minus MA equals MB. So let's just plug this in for MB. So we'll get MA 6.41. So now that we have that, we know that MA comes out to being 15.2. So now what we do is subtract 15.2 from 22 to get MB. And MB equals 6.8 kilograms. So block 1 is 15.2 kilograms, and block 2 or B, however you want to say it, was 6.8. Thank you for watching.